We made a monster that had magical power. We created a Cormyrean Warflumph. I'd like to make a more physical monster this time. Using the, let's see. We have Monk, Barbarian, Fighter, Ranger, Rogue. Bard is a Paladin. Paladin would be one as well. So we have 6. We have 6 that are primarily that are primarily physical, and some might dabble with magic as well. Tasha's hideous hiccups. Yeah, right, James Norris. If I hold my breath for 30 seconds, it helps. I think they might have gone away. I haven't hiccuped in a little bit here. So we made a wizard. I want to make a physical. I want to make a physical creature of some kind. And now, which monster would you like to give some sort of physical stats to? I wonder. I think someone said kobold. I saw gnoll. What are some monsters that you all would like to see juiced up with some kind of a physical class? I saw kobold, gnoll, a fey monster. What kind of fey would you like, oh sheeps? I'll put it on the list and then I'll randomly roll for which one we choose. Bliss Fury, you want imps? A Dragonborn. Dragonborn is a player race, and so they are meant to have player levels. That would just be a normal character creation session, Hypnotic. Fawns? Which book are fawns in, Bewitch? Are they in Volos or Mordenkainen's? Fawns are kind of like a deer people. Not so much like centaurs. No, Hypnotic, you're fine. We're just taking a monster and we're of some kind. You could say a skeleton, a zombie, you know, whatever. You know, if there's a monster you have in mind. All right, I only have 3 suggestions for monsters. Are there no other monsters that exist in the entirety of D&D that you would like to have rolled and see if we can add some levels of something to it? I don't know offhand then, O'Sheeps. I need a source book of some kind. The monster manual. The monster manual has all kinds of monsters in it. Volo's Guide to Monsters also. And Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes has a lot. But you'll find monsters in all the supplements. Tomb of Annihilation, Curse of Strahd, things like that. Bugbear? Sure, we'll put Bugbear on the list. Alright, are there no other suggestions? We only had... There's 24 of you out there. Come on, throw out a monster. Let's make a goodly amount of things to roll through here. You could suggest it, James, but I need a monster. So give me a non-humanoid. Are those in Volos, I wonder? Yeah, I know. Meow. Yeah, they are. They're on 195. If we do end up working on them. Tressum. Basilisk. The Tressum, they have stats in one of these books. Let me see if the Tressum are in here too. Let's see. Transmuter, Trapper. Tressum aren't here. Chupacabra, if you want to represent that with a D&D monster, let me know. But the Chupacabra itself does not exist in D&D as far as I know. Let's see, we're looking up a Bullywug and a Tressum. Tressum are not in Mordenkainen, so I don't know if I could do a Tressum. But I know gargoyles are in the monster manual. Gargoyle. I don't have that immediately available, Zero. I'm sorry. Bullywug. Yep, Satyr. You want a Satyr? You want to throw that into the mix? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 8 monsters. Air Elemental. Hypnotic, it's there we go. I think we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 10. And all right, 10's good. So for all of you who suggested monsters, here's our list. And Bubonic One, will you please give me a D10 roll to choose which monster we're going to be giving some levels of something to? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to be going to the Basilisk. And now there are 6 melee, or I guess more melee focused. Barbarian, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue. And oh Sheeps, will you roll a d6 to determine which class we're going to be adding to the Basilisk? Stops on a 4. So not Barbarian, not Fighter, not Monk. It's a Paladin. Okay. A Basilisk Paladin, yes. And in particular, let's determine what kind of a Paladin. Totem Fiend, will you please roll a D3 in chat so we know which oath this Basilisk is swearing? Stops on a 2. So it's not devotion. This is instead an Oath of the Ancients. All right, now, adding, as the Paladin's Oath is sworn at level 3, this is going to be at least a 3rd level Paladin. Raz, will you please roll a Let's roll a 13-sided die, and we're hoping for a number above 3. I didn't offhand, Raz. 7. Okay. So we're going to make a 7th level Paladin, Oath of the Ancients. Just... It could be an Oathbreaker for sure. But I'm just going by the player's handbook to keep things moving ahead and streamlined. Because if you wanted... How to put this? Once we give it 7 levels of Oath of Ancients, there may be very little difference in the oath that's sworn because we're only looking at some core battle stats, which will be mostly the same between all of the oaths. All right, let's go to the Basilisk. We're already starting as a challenge rating 3. And let's load in and see if we can simulate. I'm going to move this off to the side. Let's see if we can simulate the Basilisk stats here. We do have an AC of 15. We do have 52. I know, meow. Let's see, Constitution's 15. It's a medium monstrosity. And its hit points are 52. Okay. Speed doesn't matter. Dark vision doesn't matter. Passive perception doesn't matter. Languages doesn't matter. Petrifying gaze does not matter for purposes of monster abilities that would affect the challenge rating. And it does have a bite, so it has an attack bonus of +5 with a DPR of 10 +7, so 17. It has no vulnerabilities, nor does it have immunities or resistances. There we go. It doesn't fly, and it has no special save proficiencies either. So taking a look at this, that has it as a challenge rating 2. So we're just shy on something. I might have missed something, unless in the homebrew that the Wizards of the Coast developed, where Petrifying Gaze itself. Let's see. If a creature starts its turn within 30 feet, two of them can see each other. The Basilisk can force a creature to make a con saving throw. That must be some kind of maybe a tiebreaker then, as petrification doesn't appear here. Let me take a quick look in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Parry, possession, pounce, no. Anything like stone or turn to stone? Turn immunity, turn resistance. Baylor, Bay here. Bullywug. More Baylor stuff. So they might be considering this ability as perhaps, let's see if resistances or if it would be something like a resistance because it'd be taking less damage from party members that are turning to stone. Yeah, that's probably how they ended up counting it generally. Oh no, hang on, that brought us up to a 4. Did that really just hop us, or were we at it before? Did I just derp out? No, it goes from 2 to 4 with that. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. They might have just counted it as it adds a +1 challenge rating, which is fine. These are guidelines, remember, and how each of these were built or calculated either could have been a complex spreadsheet on the side. What are you? Okay, cat stuff. Or honestly, they just play tested it and said, you know what, this is at a 2, though. Challenge rating 3 parties, you know, it was providing that level that we were expecting. And remember, whenever you're playing with monsters, what you're seeing with challenge rating is a guideline for pure combat only, not role play. A lot of stuff like special visions and languages and movement, like spider climb, don't affect the CR, the combat CR, with the exception of flying and being able to make a ranged attack. And even then, that's only until CR 9. 10 and above, that consideration drops away. So anyway, we have a CR 3 creature. We'll remember this. And now we're going to add 7 levels of Paladin. Sour Sugar 56. We are, yes, we made a Cormyrean War Wizard flump. And now we're making a Basilisk with 7 levels of Oath of the Ancients Paladin. So we go back here, and I want to remind you all of this portion of the monster making section of the Dungeon Master's Guide. For each class level you add, the monster gains 1 hit die of its normal type. Paladins get D10s if you are a player race. In this case, we're coming down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've added 7 hit die from our Paladin levels per the size category of the monster. We're going to take a look at Paladin. Let's see. Armor and shields. Wisdom, charisma. Let's see. Divine Sense isn't going to be a CR modifying ability. It's informational. It's handy. It's not mechanically... it doesn't give us anything in combat. Lay on Hands is the ability to heal ourselves. That said, it's not a regeneration. This would be a purposeful spell casting, similar to like a cleric. But clerics, it just counts as their spells. It counts as something that they can do in combat. Fighting style. Hey, good morning to you, Master Mage. Sour Sugar, will you please type exclamation point 1d4? Oops, Sour Sugar might be absent. Master Mage, will you type exclamation point 1d4? Stops on a 2. Hey, Misfit, welcome. And thank you for gifting that sub to Master Mage. That's so nice of you. Dueling. When wielding a melee weapon in one hand and no other weapons, you have a +2 bonus to damage rolls with that weapon. All right. While this is a Basilisk, we're going to presume that it can duel with its attacks. However that works. Is it like in Pokemon Sword and it's a wolf with a sword in its mouth? Can it stand upright and wield weapons? Or did it find a way through the oath that it swore that it's just more efficient at biting or clawing? So we're going to be adding this +2 damage into what we're doing as well. Spellcasting, spellcasting for the most part is really just going to end up being smites, as we're going to consider the smites into our DPR. So Divine Smite, we don't get improved yet. 2d8 for a first level spell slot and 1d8 for each spell level higher than first to a maximum of 5d8. The damage increases to 1d8 if the target is undead or a fiend. There's no way to guarantee that, so for average DPR in smiting, we're going to simply go with the 2d8. Let's see, we're immune to disease. We'll get our oath spells, and so that'll be something to fill in here. We will get an ASI as well, and an extra attack, and that'll increase our DPR. Aura of Protection, a bonus to the saving throw equal to your Charisma modifier. You must be conscious to grant the bonus. So these will be save proficiencies, effectively in all saves, because of Aura of Protection. So we're going to fill this in. Whoops, sorry, it's a little bit off kilter here. We're filling in save proficiencies. We already set our Constitution. We have our hit dice. We're medium-sized. And we have our starting armor class. Now, something to consider, because we can wear armor, we most likely would be. Maybe it's special Behir armor. If we want to consider it, if you say, nah, not Behir, Basilisk. My Basilisks won't wear armor, but I'm going to give them everything else. That's fine, because what we're playing with, these are switches. You just go up and flick the ones on and off that you want or don't want. But if we go full plate with a shield, that's a 20 AC. Now, normally, and I'm going to scoot this over again, normally Basilisks here, they have the Petrifying Gaze, but they really just have a bite, a melee bite. And so we would get to do this twice. Strength is a 16. Con. So let's make him a little tankier and bring Con up 1 and Strength up 1. So Con is actually going to be a 16. There we go. That's not going to change our strength here. Our attack bonus. Our attack bonus we can play with here, especially because our strength hasn't really moved. It's still the same. So now let's calculate our DPR. We are getting 2 bites, and we're going to smite bite. Melee weapon attack +5 to hit. So it says 2d6 +3 +2d6. So the average is 17. So this is going to be a bite of 17 plus 2d8. That is going to be 4.5, 4.5. Well, so it's going to end up being 17 plus 5. Now, if you want to really extrapolate it and not use decimals, you could do with 2 attacks, 1 is at a 5, and 17 plus 4. And then we're going to do this for 3 rounds. And we should be able to smite every round. Well, actually, we can only do this. That would be 6 attacks. However, our Paladin only has, at 7th level... Okay, we have 6 spell slots, so we can do this. We can do this every time. So this is going to be 22. 21. We have 43. 43 times 3 divided by 3. Well, derp. Anyway, we add it up, and then we have to average the DPR. And of course, I was just... I was a derp about it. But yes, so our DPR, it doesn't matter the type. If it's radiant, poison, piercing from teeth, the damage type doesn't matter. What matters is that we're dealing, on average, 43 points of damage per round. We're not dual wielding. Oh, but you know what? We did get the duelist. That is actually going to then add an extra 2. So we're actually dealing 45 DPR. Thank you. We're still keeping our turn to stone. Our save proficiencies are that because of our aura. We have no other resistances or immunities. And this is the damage types. We do get immunity to disease. However, it is... that's not a damage type. You can remove poison with lay on hands. That doesn't make you immune to poison. Or even resistant to poison. Because that would dip into your damage per round. Oh, you're right. It would be a little bit higher average, Joe. Because it would be 8 divided by 3. So we could bump it up to 46 instead. Now, after we've fiddled with this, we've applied... Oh, actually, let me see. We forgot. Does Oath of the Ancients give us anything extra? The spells aren't going to matter because we're getting more damage out of smiting. Channel Divinity. This isn't going to really affect CR. Turn the Faithless. You can use your Channel Divinity to utter ancient words that are painful for Fae or Fiends to hear. As an action, you present your holy symbol. That'd be kind of like a tabaxi, like, you know, presenting its butt or something like that. That's the holy symbol. On a failed save, the creature's turn... Nah, turning isn't... especially because it doesn't destroy. So it's not dealing, like, equivalent HP damage here. Aura of Warding. Friendly creatures within 10 feet of resistance to damage from spells. Alright, so we are also resistant, then to... That we certainly qualify for resistances, because that's fire, poison, if it's magical based. And by the way, Oath of the Ancients is awesome because of that just universal magic resistance. You want to make a really tanky paladin, a rock gnome, well, really any gnome, but a rock gnome because you get that con boost. A rock gnome Oath of the Ancients paladin. You get that gnomish bonus to intelligence, wisdom, charisma saves versus magic, and then you just take half from magic. And if you save, then you take a quarter. It's amazing stuff. All right, so our subclass does give us Aura of Warding at 7th. And now our humble CR3 creature, when we come back to it, our CR3 Basilisk with 7 levels of Paladin has now become a challenge rating 11. So in this case, Bubonic, if you're there, we effectively got a 1-for-1. Effectively got a 1-for-1. This is presuming that it's wearing heavy armor, has a shield, is getting the dueling bonus, and is smiting. So there's a lot of presumptions. Instead, if you wanted to make a super, I don't know, your Basilisk in your world is super charismatic and is more just of a support. It's a support Basilisk. In which case, it's not going to be using its spell slots to... It's not going to be using its spell slots to smite, because it's going to be casting a bunch of other spells that might not even damage. This might bring your DPR for the... if everything else is the same, holding everything else constant, let's just say that the DPR arbitrarily goes to 24 after our calculations. Now it's only a CR9 creature, because it's not as lethal. And if you say, well, it's kind of ridiculous that I'll give the Basilisk dueling with its bite, but I think it's unreasonable that it would use a shield in full plate. Especially as a support. You know, or we can go back up to 46 and then change the armor class and just go back to 15, which is its natural armor. Now a support Paladin is 8. And this is a Basilisk you want in the middle of the party, so it just has auras pouring off of it, and all of you know not to look at it, so it's aura, aura, gaze, aura, aura, gaze, support spells, heal spells, lay on Basilisk paw thing. And you just have like a mobile healing station, a mobile support station. It'd be like, I guess, a tanky ambulance. Lay on claw, yeah. So you'd have a tanky ambulance, and instead of an actually a cannon, it would just be, you know, the shell of a tank, but it has all the healing and support you can want in the party. So you have fun with that, and you just saw we could make the Paladin spell list and everything, but again, focus on CR. CR is looking at damage per round. What is the maximum damage you can do per round with what you are giving the monster? You know, do you want to say that we've actually jacked up the strength enough? You know, that it is... you know, that it hits harder, or it hits more consistently, or maybe it just does a bunch of AoE stuff and uses saves. Oh yeah, and so when you're making customized monsters like this, remember, as the dungeon master, how are you going to use it? Because we've made one Basilisk as a Paladin, Oath of the Ancients. However, it is going to... you could take it as an assault Paladin or as a defensive one. And you know what we were talking about? If you wanted to switch this over, we're going to bring that back up to 20 with 46 DPR. We're going to go back to our original one. But now what we're going to do, since I do have the DMG... Let's see, we're on page 283. I need y'all to remember this. Let's... the spells are still the spells. Unless the spells can deal more than smiting, becoming an Oathbreaker instead isn't going to change anything here. Control Undead. Now, what this could do is change damage output. Because we would be presuming As an action, the Paladin targets one undead creature. Aura of Fate. Or Aura of Hate. Starting 7th level, the Paladin, as well as any fiends and undead, gain bonus to melee weapon damage rolls. Can only benefit. So this is where your math would be different then. At 7th level, Aura of Hate would replace our save proficiencies that we're getting from, or I'm sorry, our resistance that we get from Oath of the Ancients. What this would do, though, if we're commanding let's see. This would depend as a DM how many undead you want this thing to control. And then the undead's damage output, especially with Aura of Hate. And let's say you calculated, you want this encounter to be with our Oathbreaker Basilisk Paladin with 3 skeletons. The skeletons are within range. And not only is our Oathbreaker going to be smiting every round for those 3 rounds, but because the undead are at the control, so it's effectively an extension of our Basilisk, you might be able to then lump it together as one entity and give it extra hit points. Let's say every skeleton adds 20 hit points, so we're adding 60 more hit points. So 173, and with Aura of Hate and a skeleton's normal DPR, this is going to give us an additional, we'll say 14 DPR. So now, not only do we have effectively more hit points, we also have a higher DPR, and in this circumstance, an Oathbreaker with 3 skeletons considered to be incorporated into it. Because it commands it, its damage output at the command of the Basilisk, its extra hit points because the skeletons would take hits, or even if you want to have that be represented with, I think there's something like shared damage. Maybe not. Oh, you know what? There's magic resistance right there. Heh. And there's abilities. You might end up missing something, but you still come up with a cool concept. And you say CR10, and here's the ultimate wrap-up. You say, well, geez, my players are only CR5, but I like everything I've built. I like it. It makes sense, but I don't want to raffle stomp my party of 4. Remember, this is considering a party of 4 and a fair challenge for a party. Well, this would be a party of 4 that is level 10 each. But if they're level 4 and you say, oh, I didn't think adding 7 levels would be this way for an Oathbreaker. What can I do? Well, all right, let's take the armor away. It goes back to natural armor, but it has everything else. I'm drawing the line here. Oof. Only goes down to a CR9. Fine. I'm not gonna count the skeleton hit points, but I will count it as DPR. Okay, well, we lost another one there. Where else? Well, maybe if I take away the power to make saves. All right, we're getting there. We're still CR7, and I think a big portion of that, is going to be riding on that DPR, because that DPR. Look here, if you all can see. 60 DPR is a vanilla CR9 creature. Vanilla CR9. Well, fine. I want the skeletons, but let's just say it's going to bring it back to a DPR of 40. Hey, we're closer, and maybe you're comfortable with 5. You want it to be not as fair a challenge for your level 4 characters. But now you still have... You have the monster, has all the spells, has all of this. And you might think, well, but all the paladin spells, if you're not smiting, it can cast all this stuff. Yes. And at what cost? What is the opportunity cost to cast Compelled Duel? Well, you're not biting twice, and you're not dealing damage that round. And when you're only averaging DPR for 3 levels, unless your tactic is Compelled Duel, fight, and then you calculate that into your CR, on average, you still are bottlenecked at the amount of actions that you get for your monster. All right, we're going to reset this, and we're going to have fun with one more monster here from the list. So we've already done a Basilisk. We've had a caster, and we've had a bruiser. Now let's open it up to whatever happens. Hey, Shukan. What happened at work? Shukan, if it makes you feel better, can you roll a D10? Yeah, please share your story. Stops on a 2. All right, we're going to be making a knoll. And the knoll... yeah, no, hopefully it's not the, whatever, like the gallon of deer pee that exploded in the sporting goods section. Misfit, will you please roll a D10 for me, please? Stops on a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We already made a paladin, so we're skipping ahead and we're making a Knoll Ranger. Unstoppable, welcome and thank you for the follow. All right. Oh. TLDR, you can't check your schedule unless you're on the clock. Huh. I wonder why you couldn't remote access it. Regular Knoll. Karate, will you please roll a D4? On a 1 or a 2, we're going to make a hunter. On a 3 or a 4, it's going to be a beastmaster. Exclamation point 1D4. Stops on a 1. All right, we're making a hunter. So again, we're going to need at least 3 levels here. Ask for lasagna cream, like ricotta cheese. Oh, did that cause a chemical reaction, Shukan? Average Joe, will you please roll a 13-sided die? A Beastmaster with a human beast? That'd be fun, because then a Knoll would just take a commoner or something with a CR. Yeah, it would take one of the CR commoners or like a town guard or something like that as its beast. You're absolutely correct. All the dice rolls have a number before the D. So exclamation point 1D3. Just like it's 2D20, 4D6. It's all number, D number. Stops on a 2. All right. Well, we can't have 2 levels of a Beastmaster or of a Hunter because it starts at 3. So we're gonna roll a. We're gonna add to that roll. However, Raz, will you please roll a D10? Yeah, I don't know what lasagna cream would be other than ricotta. Or maybe Or maybe another type of cheese. Yeah, like a cottage cheese, yeah. Alright, so we're going to make a 5 levels of Hunter, and we're going to see how that affects the CR of a Gnoll. Whoop. A little too far. Goblins. Gnoll. Here we go. Oh, I agree. Lasagna is amazing. I love lasagna. Garfield absolutely has the right of it. All right. A Gnoll is a CR 1/2. And by default, let's see if we can recreate it. Let's see if we can recreate in our CR calculator here. Gnolls have an armor class of 15, 22 hit points. They are medium-sized. Speed doesn't matter. Rampage does not show up as affecting CR. And its average DPR is 4. Or 6 with a spear, or 5 with a longbow. Let's see. Well, it's +4 to hit. Five if piercing, or 6 if it's used with 2 hands. However, this is assuming hide armor and a shield. So we're gonna keep the 15 AC. Otherwise, we're trading 2 AC for 1 DPR, and that's your choice. What kind of gnolls do you want to run? In this case, let's have it be one-handed spear and shield. So this is an average of 6 DPR. And I'm going to double check real quick, like that Rampage doesn't somehow exist in the book and not on that site. Because it does say not everything shows up, but everything might not show up because it might not affect. Rampage Gnoll. Ah. So this would increase the monster's effective per round damage by 2. So in this case, we're actually going up to 8. It's a good thing we checked, and this is why you have it handy. We have our attack bonus. Let's see. No resistances or immunities, as a Gnoll is a Gnoll. Con is 11, but that doesn't change hit points. No save proficiencies, can't fly, no resistance or immunities. So, 1/4. This is saying 1/2. I wonder what is defensively. It's saying it's a little bit low. Interesting. Must be based on well, no. Attack bonus, save DC. Well, we're close anyway, which is fine because again, this could be taking things into consideration that we aren't. In fact, you know what? I wonder what would happen if we did. So instead of doing 5, oh, so that'd actually be 7. If that instead would be, well, no, because that would go to 8, as if we were doing it two-handed. Average damage is, or maybe even 9? 8? Huh. That 1 damage jumps us from 1/4 So I wonder if that's what they did. Because they found that 1 damage, either way, takes you from 1/4 to 1. I wonder if they just averaged the two together and called it a CR 1/2 creature. That might have been the case. Cool. All right, then. Lucky I am. Welcome back. Good to see you. What are you painting, Lucky? Okay, now, as per the Dungeon Master's Guide, remember, when you are adding monsters with classes, you give it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of its own hit die, and not the hit die of the class that you're giving it. Ooh, a dwarf pirate. And can you explain a little bit on how it's going to be used? As a ranger, we are going to know some spells, and perhaps the spells that we know might help our DPR, though ranger spells aren't necessarily always assault spells directly, though they might help. The skills that we get and all that, they're not going to play into challenge rating. We are going to get favored enemy. Let's see. You have advantage, survival. This isn't going to affect CR. Natural Explorer. Movement. Movement doesn't affect CR, generally. Fighting style. Lucky I am, can you please type exclamation point 1d4? All right. Hey, have a great night. Thank you so much for hanging out, O'Sheeps. Remember, everyone, O'Sheeps isn't here, so adventures have to come to an end in chat for tonight. Exclamation. Yep, there you go. 2. We are a defensive. So actually, our armor class is going up by 1. And that this is presuming we're still wearing hide, which, you know, we can. Hide and a shield. So our class is going to give us 1 more AC. Spellcasting, we'll get to it. Primeval Awareness isn't really going to affect our DPR or anything challenge rating consistent. We are going to get an ASI, which could increase our damage per round if we increase strength, maybe by 1. So we're going to remember DPR plus 1. Extra attack, that is definitely going to give us extra DPR. And nothing else from being a ranger. Now, by being a hunter, gain one of the following features. These are probably going to average the same. Of course, if you're putting ranger levels on a knoll, you're going to pick and choose and do the custom math. To make things easy, let's just say it's Colossus Slayer. And so it's going to be DPR plus 1 from strength buff. Extra attack plus 1d8. Whoops. 1d8 Colossus Slayer. And we're not high enough for defensive tactics. All right, we go back to our Gnoll, who normally can only attack once with a spear, and we're going to pretend we're keeping the same weapon. So this is actually going to be 1d6 plus 3. So this is going to bring us up to 6, and another attack is 6, so that's 12. And then an average of 4 or 5 for Colossus Slayer. So if we do round up, then so that was 12. Actually, we could take the average because it's No, hang on. I'm being a derp. One thing at a time. 6. 6. 12. 16 or 17 then. We're going to go 17 DPR. Let's say it's 17 DPR. We go from 8 to 17. And all of a sudden, barring any kind of magic, which I suppose we could presume. Let's go to... Whoops, wrong book. We might have a spell that would let us deal more damage. Maybe Hunter's Mark. Ranger spells, let's see. Hail of Thorns. Hunter's Mark might be one here. Go to Hunter's Mark. Choose a creature. And this is a bonus action, so we can still average this into our DPR. An extra 1d6 damage whenever we hit with the weapon. Alright. This is going to bring our DPR up to 20 with Hunter's Mark. Hey, Technotron, welcome. Yep, Raz, there you go. You got it. So with all of this in mind... Oh, and you know what? Remember that Knoll ability that gave us an effective extra 2. Our DPR goes up to 22, effectively. Our effective DPR, not our guaranteed DPR. Effective DPR is 22. Armor class is 16, unless we, juice up our armor. And now we go from a simple Knoll of CR 1/2 to a Knoll that is challenge rating 2 by adding 5 levels of Hunter Ranger to it. Ta-da! All right, let's do one more real quick. We made our Knoll Hunter. We made our Basilisk. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 left. Hypnotic Gamer, will you roll a D8? We're gonna go through. I hope you're getting that. It's not difficult to do. You can sit down and you'll spend an hour giving it the spells and thinking about combat, but to get the core mechanics of the combat is easy. From there, fluff it out however you want, and you might discover, you know what? I want to give it better armor, and you just say whatever. It has an 18 armor. I don't care. Still a CR2 even with that. Ooh. Or you say, you know what, 41 hit points, I don't know, I got some bruisers in my custom party, so you use the generic guidelines, but really, you want this to be a tough guy, so you'll make it easy to hit. We'll put it back to 16, technically. But you say, I want to give this thing 100 hit points. Look what happens. CR3. Okay, I'm happy with that, and it's going to do what I, as an individual DM, want in my game. All right, Hypnotic, you rolled a 3. Kobold, Imp, Bugbear. All right, we have 2 bruisers and we only did 1 caster, so I want another caster. Technotron, will you please roll a D6? We're going to make a Bugbear with levels in... Hey, Carl, good evening. Exclamation... Oh, it's exclamation point 1d6. I'm doing very well, Carl. Thank you. And about to be better. Stops on a 5. Bard, Cleric, Druid. Wait. Bard, Cleric, Druid. Sorcerer, Warlock. We're making a Warlock Bugbear. Carl, will you please type exclamation point 1D13? $12 levels of Warlock. And in particular, what kind of a Warlock are we looking for? Jinnery or Jinneray? Please correct me on how to pronounce your name. Lucky, will you roll a D3 to determine the Warlock patron? Jinnery? Jinnery, okay. Get one. This is an Archfey. Jinnery, if you would kindly, thank you for correcting me, and if I mess it up again, you are always welcome to correct me until it sinks in here. Jinnery, will you please type exclamation point 1D3 to find out which kind of a pact are Bugbears making with an Archfey? Raven, I did show off your minis after the break. 2. And so this is Pact of the Blade. All right, we're making a Blade Lock. An Archfey Blade Lock. Bugbear. Go back to the monster manual. Ooh, are Bugbears going to be their own thing, or are they going to be under Goblin? Let's find out. Shall we? Blights? Yeah, there's Bugbears. Lucky, your roll determined it was an Archfey. All right, so here is our simple Bugbear. Here's its stats. I don't need to recreate it in our calculator here. I'm going to reset this. Once more. Well, actually, I'm going to have to put in some basic stuff so we can add to it. Derp. There was a reason I was doing it. I'm not crazy. You're crazy. We start at, let's see, it started at 27 hit points with an armor class of 16. Whoops. Wrong place. Medium-sized. With a constitution of 13. So there's our, you know, this is giving us 28, 27, depends on how it rounds. That's fine. This is not an airtight method. Melee weapon deals 1 extra die of its damage when the Bugbear hits with it. Ooh, that'll be extra brutal on a Blade Lock, wouldn't it? Melee weapon deals 1 extra die of its damage when the Bugbear hits with it. Man, you get a packed like a greatsword. Surprise attack. If the Bugbear surprises a creature and hits it with an attack during its first round of combat, the target takes an extra. All right, let's see if surprise attack gives us anything here. Surprise attack. Increase the monster's effective damage for 1 round by the amount noted in the trait. All right, so this is something to remember. So round 1, we're getting +1 effective damage. Round 2 is going to be what it is, and round 3, because you average the damage over 3 rounds, is going to be what it is. All right, anything else? So this is presuming we're attacking with a Morning Star, although honestly, I mean, it could be whatever. If we're increasing our strength, which we most likely would, as a bugbear here, we are... This is going to bring our 2 hit up to 12. We get 3. So that would max out our strength, and we'd probably start working on our charisma if, as DMs, we didn't want to just bump it up automatically. Maybe this is a very charismatic bugbear to start, and we say it was already a 14. Make up the story as you go along. This is your monster. Reskin it, add class levels however you want. What's going to be important here is that with either our cantrips or our warlock spells, although most likely with our blade, because we can do some cool stuff, we're going to have... this is actually going to be a +5. So it is going to end up being a +7 to hit. Do 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 boo boo. 5, 6, 7. This is presuming also we're not using our spells that have a save DC for the damage. If that's the case, use as saves. This website will help guide you through, and if you have the DMG open, you should be good. Oh, this was Technotron. This was the last of the Monster Building Week workshop. It won't be the last one. And I will be doing some other thematic workshops as well that I'd love to have you along for. Darren Dries? Darren Dries? Welcome and thanks for the follow. Oh, all right, Lucky. Hey, thanks for stopping in and saying hi. I appreciate it. Have a great night. If you have the core books, then you should be able to follow along with like 95% of the streams that we do here, Hypnotic. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment, Lucky. I sincerely appreciate it. Then Hypnotic, all I can say is follow along with what I have here, as I own the books and I'm presenting them in an electronic format to you. I would urge you then to purchase the books at your friendly local game store or to go on D&D Beyond. If you find another mean, that is your journey to take. Though I would urge you to pick up the books, especially as an aspiring D&D player. All right. So nothing really special besides the surprise attack, and Brute might do something also. Let's check it out. So Brute. Oh, or did I already see this? Increases it by the amount noted on the trait. So that was by 1 damage die, and then it was surprise attack also. And that, all right, so that's only for 1. All right, so Brute is going to give us an additional damage die. +1 damage die. And then all these rounds are here. I fully understand, Hypnotic. I presume that, Sheep's kind of, You know, she's always like, ah, teach, I forgot my books in class. Is, you know, could someone let me peek at their books and share? You know, because we're a community and we're doing exercises together. If community members are resourceful, then I'm sure you could always find ways to, you know, with your current circumstances, to play along until you do get the books. Mm-hmm. All right. We're getting quite the loadout already from just being a bugbear. Now we're going to go to... Dun, 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 warlock. We are going to know some cantrips, but I don't know if our cantrip is really going to be out damaging our weapon. Especially because we could just get a great axe or something like that. Spells known, I mean, we might learn some destructive spells. So this is really going to come down to how would you, if you are building this bugbear, you want it to be more casty than hitty, more hitty than casty, or go back and forth in your 3-round damage. I'm going to make this one a hitty build more than casty. Invocations known. Let's see. This is also going to get the ability to... Pardon me. Fear, Misty Escape. Misty Escape's not going to... till the start of your next turn or until you attack or cast a spell. Immune to being charmed, and when another creature tries to charm you, you can use your reaction to turn it back on them. Interesting interaction here. I wonder how this would grade. Or if we could find equivalents on the site here. It wouldn't quite be like Frightful Presence, or would Fey Presence be like that? Oh boy, did it... Hopefully I didn't just lose all of the stuff that was on that site. Weakening, Frightful... Be frightened for a minute. That's just until the end of the next turn. I don't think that's going to last long enough. Oh no, we lost our stuff. Ah! Okay, we'll have to get it back. Beguiling defenses, being invisible may not necessarily affect. Nothing about invisibility here. Ambusher, creature's attack against any creature is surprised. That could possibly count as being able to get advantage on attacks because you're invisible and you're attacking an unaware creature. So Ambusher may be a way to reflect beguiling defenses. All right, so let's give it... that's fine. We have Ambusher, which is presumably... we already had... Sorry that I dirt blend. I shouldn't have done that offhand. So we have 5d8. We're going to add 12 levels of medium creature hit dice, not warlock hit dice. I know it's the same, but when you're adding to monsters, it's the monster size hit die and not the class hit die. We're presuming Constitution's going to be the same. Or you know what? If it was 15, we're floating an extra 1. We're gonna put that extra 1 in Constitution. We're gonna get a few more hit points. No resistances or immunities unless there's something from the invocations. We're probably gonna be stealing Life Drinker. When you hit a creature with your packed weapon, the creature takes extra necrotic damage equal to your charisma modifier. All right, so that would be our call. We technically didn't touch charisma with this build. You could increase your DPR if you said, yeah, I would say, let's just sort of auto-fill in and give it at least a 14 charisma. And so in this case, it's also then going to be getting an extra +2, an extra +2, and an extra +2, because we'll take Life Drinker. We'll also get an extra attack. So we're actually going to be getting 2 attacks. Oh, you know what? This is just going to be ×2. Derp. Make it easy on ourselves. I'm overcomplicating things, and I don't need to. This can already seem difficult, and I do not want you to think that it is. I know I'm talking about things, I'm drawing in, like kind of Tony Stark with, you know, building whatever. All of this is just putting ideas out there and playing with math until you get a number that makes you go, ha, that'll be fun. That is the core of monster building, right there. That moment, ha, that'll be fun. That is monster building. Everything else, you know, kind of generally balancing math so you don't, you know, one-shot your party accidentally when you didn't really want to. Let's see. A lot of these are support. A lot of these are just support. Otherworldly Leap, you know, so that's extra movement. Movement doesn't really affect anything. If we're attacking, if we wanted to build a casty bugbear, we'd probably give it some increased damage to Eldritch Blast. Disguise Self. Mire the Mind. One with Shadow. In an area of dim light or darkness, you can use your action to become invisible. So this would actually reduce our DPR because we're using our action instead of fighting to become invisible. So I don't think that would be something that we might have it, but we may not want to calculate it in. Maybe on a retreat or something. So yeah, of all the invocations, build it to the level of invocations that you would get as a warlock of 12th level. So you'd have 6. There's really only the one that is going to be giving us a lot of extra stuff. Or actually, it was the 2, and this is riding on your charisma. You want it to be a max charisma bugbear also? That goes up to a 5. You play with the math for your bugbear. Aside from that, again, if our magic is just supporting us, or if it's not dealing as much as we can, if we have a 2d6 magical greatsword, I think we're ready to calculate our challenge rating. We have our hit points, we have our armor class, and then our damage per round. Where was my bugbear? Yeah, so we had 4. Oh yeah, and that went up to a 7. Oh, so I guess it did save that. There we go. Damage per round. If we are wielding a greatsword is 2d6. So the average for that is going to be that's 7. So that is going to be now this says, by the way, this says damage when the weapon deals 1 extra die of its damage. It might be in a errata somewhere, and if one of you finds it, let me know. I would imagine though, because a great axe is 1d12, a great sword is 1d6. I would imagine that a DM would allow you, while this says 1 extra die, it wouldn't be 3d6. It would for a cap of 18, it would be an extra 2d6. So if any of you find the errata that might clarify or say otherwise, I'm going to presume that this is actually just an extra 2d6. So this would be 7 plus another 7. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that was the one. This is the extra damage die. This is just +1, +2. So we have 8, 15, we have 17 times 2. So we have 34. Whoops. Oh, that's not the proper order. And we're doing this for 3 rounds. Which means 34 times 3 divided by 3, because that's our average DPR over 3 rounds. Oh, no, that was only for the first one. All right, I'm sorry. Technically, this one would be... whoops. 33 and 33. We're dealing 100 divided by 3. So 33.3. It'd be 33 or 34. So you come back to the calculator, and our damage per round, let's just say it's 34, using our abilities. And now, our humble CR1 Bugbear, after adding 12 levels of Archfey Warlock to it, goes up to a challenge rating 5 creature. The 12 levels of Warlock only gave it 4 extra challenge ratings. And remember, it's because you only have so many actions, and the challenge rating calculator only checks for certain things. Obviously, we're going to have spells that are going to make combat, like, kooky and fun and really weird. It's not going to affect the CR as the guidelines suggest. And let's say you hoped, oh, I really hoped that my Bugbear would be up to a CR6 or a CR7. Let's say a CR7, because that's my party, and I really want to razz them a little bit with them. This is what you do. You simply say that your Bugbear has extra armor. Hey, going up to a 17 brings us to a 6. An 18 is still the same, but let's say you just want that to tickle 6. You don't want it to be as difficult. You know what's a good way to just increase a CR intrinsically? Hit points. You could always modify your DPR, but if you've already gone through and calculated the weapons and the accents and all that, you might not, unless you're just used to just giving static responses, you might want to fudge around with the hit points. And so we have 111. We want to squeeze out that CR7. Let's go up to 125. Nope, not yet. 135? Not yet. 150. Hey, there we go. And now suddenly, we've made a 12-level Archfey Bladelock Bugbear that's CR7. Despite it normally not being 7, but we boosted our own custom monster another customized way, and now this is the exact Bugbear that you needed for your campaign. I said 34. However, I think I actually, I didn't raise it enough because we increased the thing's strength up to a 5. So this had ended up. So let's do this one more time. This is 2d6. 2d6, 2 amounts of 5 strength, that 1 effective damage, plus another set of damage die, plus 2. So I'm sorry, I should have, I forgot to add the static strength bonus. 14, 24, 25, 32, 34. So this is 34, and it gets it twice. So that is 68. Ooh. Might have to bring those hit points back down. This is going to be 67 and 67. Sorry about that, everyone. That makes a big difference. Or, you know what? I think I multiplied the 10 twice already. I think that brings it down to 50s. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's a little... we're getting later, and I'm so excited doing this. It's so much fun. So here we have 58 plus 57 plus 57 divided by 3 is 57.3. So we're just going to call this 57 for the DPR. When we put it back down to, what was it, 111, I think. Yeah. 111, it was already, and it was at a 15 as well. All right, so going back to what the math from the build should have been, it's actually a CR7 creature by itself because of that that damage per round recalculation. But what I did was, because that was lowered, it was almost halved hypnotic. It was a CR4. We went from a CR1 to a CR4, or it was a 5. And I made up the story, well, but I have a 7th level party, and I want this to be a fair challenge for them because there's 4 of them. And we just ended up, messing with the AC and the hit points until it met what we wanted it to do. And so that was sort of like frosting on the cake after we had determined the super duper important things to us first. The challenge rating is a fair fight. The challenge rating of one monster is a fair fight to a party of 4 characters of the same level as the challenge rating. A CR1 bugbear is not the same as a level 1 fighter. Elven fighter, gnomish cleric, or whatever. It's not the same. CR and character level are different things. This is an exercise to have fun, to think about how you can modify your monsters, customize them, and ultimately, once you learn how you can manipulate these numbers, you could just say, if you don't want to use these easy stat blocks going across the way, the easy stat blocks, like, yeah, whatever, CR7, sure, proficiency bonus 3, all this is, I'm just going to make it this. Why bother? But if you want to go through and really customize it, give it cool tricks, or whatever, you just want to buff something up a couple CRs, just say, sure, so what if I just increase how often it hits, and I increase its armor class? It's a very well-trained goblin, and simply by increasing its AC and how its attack accuracy, you might end up bringing it up to a CR1, even though everything else is the same. You just explain that this looks like a goblin tactician that is, I don't know, wearing a necklace. Your players aren't going to know. Your players aren't going to care because they have goblins to put down. And if you have a player at your table that goes, well, actually, goblins only have X amount of hit points, and I know for a fact that goblins only have a strength score. No. Stop. I'm not running those goblins. These are our goblins in our world with our circumstances. Please stop metagaming. Enjoy the story and stop worrying about encyclopedic knowledge that is the foundation for what we're building, and not that every goblin is the same, just like not every human being is the same. Holding a slide ruler, yeah. This is a website, Raz. Yeah.